Hey everyone, Benson, Performance Capability. Hope you're doing well. So do you know why Navy SEALs are the most feared warriors on the planet? It's not because they're born stronger, it's because they're trained to love discomfort. Hell week, freezing water, endless drills, they're designed literally to break you. But those who make it through learn a secret. Discomfort is not the enemy. It's literally the training ground. When everyone else breaks under pressure, they thrive. How? How do they do it? Well, you might not be a soldier, but here's the truth. Life will put you through its own battles. The question is, will you crumble or will you condition yourself, literally condition yourself to stand tall in the midst of the storm? And here's the deeper question. If chaos hits your life tomorrow, would you be prepared or would you break? And perhaps the hardest thing of all, the hardest question to think about is, what could you do today that would build the resilience before the storm comes tomorrow? Let's find out in this message. Let's run the intro.
Hold your breath, all the moves we're making.
See, what separates Navy SEALs from the rest of the world? It's not just strength, it's not just toughness, it's their ability to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's a skill that you can learn. See, neuroscientists call this adaptation under pressure stress inoculation. And SEALs have mastered it to the nth degree. They deliberately step into extreme conditions so that discomfort becomes familiar. See, consider this. While most of us try and make our lives easier, SEALs train to make life harder on purpose. They know that pressure reveals potential. Evolutionary biology even supports this. Species that survive aren't the strongest, but the ones who adapt best under pressure and under stress. SEALs embody the same principle in modern life, proving that resilience isn't born, it's built. See, here's the problem. Most people retreat at the first sign of discomfort. The cold, the fatigue, the rejection, the failure. They interpret those signals as danger instead of direction. And so they shrink back. But Navy SEALs lean in. They've trained their minds to make discomfort normal, turning what most see as pain into everyday practice. They even use techniques like box breathing and micro goal setting in the middle of Hell Week to calm their nerves and help their system refocus under pressure. That's why they can perform under impossible circumstances and conditions. Because what others interpret as a reason to quit, they've conditioned themselves to see as a cue to keep going. See, studies on stress inoculation show that repeated exposure to controlled discomfort actually reprograms the nervous system. Cortisol levels stabilize heart rate variability and it improves as time goes on. The brain begins to associate pressure with readiness instead of panic. In other words, you can literally train your biology to turn discomfort into strength. Here's a powerful question I want you to consider. Why do SEALs succeed where most fail? The answer is simple. They don't see discomfort as an obstacle, but as a classroom. They treat suffering as information, fatigue as feedback, and fear as fuel. This perspective transforms what breaks others into the very training that builds them. During Hell Week, candidates are pushed to the brink. 5 days of almost no sleep, constant drills, freezing ocean swims. Most ring the bell and quit. The ones who endure aren't the strongest. They're the ones who have befriended discomfort. SEAL instructors know the science. The human body can push far beyond what the brain believes. Research shows that when you feel done, you are only tapped about 40% of your actual capacity. Navy SEALs train to break through that mental barrier again and again and again. Life is like the ocean. Fight the waves and you drown. Ride the waves and you survive. Discomfort is the wave. You either resist it or you ride it. See, and science confirms this metaphor. Studies on resilience show that people who practice adaptive coping strategies develop greater stress tolerance, just like seasoned surfers who learn to read and ride the waves instead of battling them. See, another way to look at it is like this. Discomfort is attitude training for the mind. Here's another question I want you to consider. What happens to you when the air of life goes thin? Do you collapse or do you adapt? The powerful answer is that your body and mind, just like athletes at altitude, can expand their capacity when you stay with stress long enough to adjust to it. Just as athletes use thin air to build stronger lungs, seals use adversity to build stronger resilience. Once you've adapted, what used to crush you becomes your competitive advantage. See, success doesn't go to the strongest, it goes to the most adaptable. Darwin was right when he observed the survival is not about the strongest or the most intelligent, but it's about those most adaptable to change. So how adaptable are you to change? The Navy SEALs embody this truth. By conditioning themselves to thrive in discomfort, they adapt faster and more completely than their environment can break them. This is principle 2 of the performance capability trispheron. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's not just a motto, it's performance science backed by psychology, physiology, and evolutionary biology. Consider these questions. Where do you quit in the face of discomfort? And what patterns show up again and again in life when things get hard for you? Recognize that. Do you back away? Do you delay? Do you distract? Do you make excuses? Do you not turn up? Identifying this pattern is the first step to breaking it. How would your results change if discomfort became your ally instead of your enemy? If every challenge you face became training instead of trauma? A compass pointing you to strength rather than a wall holding you back. What small hell week challenges could you take on in your own life? Maybe one bold test that pushes your limits physically, mentally, maybe emotionally, and forces you to discover a strength that you didn't know that you had. What if you treated fear and fatigue not as stop signs, but as training partners, signals that you are entering a new level of growth? Much like weights in the gym that feel heavy at first, but build strength with every rep. Let me give you a few ideas to consider. Number 1, what would your life look like if you deliberately embrace discomfort every day for the next year? The powerful answer is this: you'd become unrecognizable to your former self. You'd be stronger, clearer, more resilient, and far more capable than the version of you that plays it safe. What would happen if you stopped running from discomfort and instead scheduled it daily? The answer is you'd rewire your brain and nervous system to thrive under pressure, literally. Research in neuroscience shows that repeated intentional exposure to what they call small stressors builds stress resilience, much like vaccines train the immune system. By scheduling discomfort, you condition your biology to see challenge as normal. And what this does is it literally sharpens the edge of you in every area of life. What hidden capacities are waiting on the other side of your next discomfort? The answer: more strength, more clarity, and resilience than you can currently imagine. Studies in positive psychology suggest that post-traumatic growth often leads people to discover abilities, wisdom, and perspective that they never thought could have existed. Just like muscles reveal hidden power after being pushed and stretched, your mind and spirit reveal hidden dimensions of resilience once you step into that discomfort. So what would happen if you viewed every setback not as failure, but as feedback? The answer is you transform obstacles into training grounds for mastery. See, cognitive behavioral research shows that reframing setbacks as feedback reduces stress and accelerates learning. Just as Navy SEALs debrief after every mission, analyzing mistakes to sharpen performance, you too can turn every negative situation into a stepping stone towards mastery. See, how would your identity shift if you saw yourself as someone who embraces discomfort instead of avoids it? The answer is you'd begin to live as a leader, not as a follower. And psychologists have a name for this. It's called identity level shift. When you no longer see courage as something you do occasionally, but it's who you are at the core in terms of your identity, That change in self-perception rewires your choices and behaviors, making resilience your default instead of your exception. So ask yourself this: what legacy could you build if you practice this principle for a decade? The answer is a life story that inspires generations, literally. Not just a comfort zone that keeps you safe. Adapt to Navy SEAL mindset this week. Deliberately put yourself in uncomfortable situations, wake up earlier, take a cold plunge, speak your truth. Research shows that even small acts of voluntary discomfort build grit and resilience. The goal is not to avoid discomfort. The goal is to adapt until it feels normal. Remember, Darwin's lesson was true. It's not the strongest who survive, but the most adaptable. That's how you win the battles of life, by rewiring your entire biology, strengthening your mind, and proving yourself that discomfort is not your enemy, but your edge. It's a personal challenge. Design your own mini hell week. Challenge yourself with tasks that push you physically, mentally, and emotionally. Journal how your body and mind react, and notice how quickly adaptation kicks in. By choosing discomfort daily, you condition yourself to operate at a level most people literally never reach. I hope you got some value out of this message. This is Benson, Performance Capability. Until I see you in the next video, follow the 7 stars, and I'll see you soon.